good morning to all my dear students. Hope you are following all the videos properly, and as you know that we have been learning at chapter 3, that is atoms and molecules. So in my last video I think I taught you about the basic terminology that you need to learn and understand before actually going into the depths of this chapter. So we have already learned the definitions of terms like atom, element, compound, molecule, valency, ions, etc. So what is valency? Today we will learn about a very important concept, that is, why do atoms combine with each other and what happens when atoms combine. We know that what happens when all atoms combine. When they combine, they form molecules, right? They form either elements or compounds. And why are they actually combining? Can't they just be independent? Can't they just stay like that individually? So no, it's not happening. What is actually happening? The atoms are combining. Different atoms are combining. When same atoms combine, we get elements. When different atoms combine, we get compounds. So these molecules are formed by the combination. Ultimately, what is happening? The atoms are combining. And what is making? Why are these atoms combining? Is the topic for today's video, today's chapter. So you can see that every atom, here is a simple version, simple diagram representing the atomic structure. You have a positively charged nucleus. Why is the nucleus positively charged, children? Because it contains protons in it. You know that there are three main subatomic particles. What are they? Protons, electrons and neutrons. Protons have positive charge, electrons have negative charge, and neutrons have no charge at all. So in a nucleus you find both protons and neutrons. Because neutrons don't have any charge, protons have positive charge, which gives a positive charge to the entire nucleus. So that's the reason why we represent it with a plus mark. So this is a nucleus. So what is around the nucleus? You can see that there are many orbits or shells which are around the nucleus, through which or on which, along which the electrons revolve around the nucleus. So you can see that electron has got some velocity, it has got some speed with which they revolve around the nucleus. And what charge do they bear? They bear negative charge. So electrons are negatively charged subatomic particles and protons are the positively charged particles. We know this. You can see that every atom, depending upon its size, the number of shells increase. So in the coming topics we will be learning about all these things in detail. For now you understand that every atom consists of a nucleus and some shells. As the atom size, atomic size increases, the number of shells also increase. So you can see the first element, the simplest to the smallest element is hydrogen, and it contains only one shell. When you go along the periodic table, as the atomic size increases, the number of shells also increases. So the shells are given some alphabets over here. They are given some names, like they are called as K, L, M, N shell and so on. So K shell is the one which is closest to the nucleus, and L shell is this next. So this is, or it can also, they are also given some numbers, children, in order to denote the orbit. They are named like this, K, L, M, N and so on, or 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. The first shell is the one which is closest to the nucleus. This is the first shell, this is second, this is third and so on, depending upon the size of the atom. So hydrogen, if you see, that is having only one shell, K shell only. If you see helium, hydrogen, helium and lithium, if you see lithium, it contains two shells, actually K and L shell. So in that manner it goes on increasing, children. You will learn it later in this chapter. Okay. So first of all, what is our today's concept? Today's topic is, we have to know about why these atoms actually combine. Now these outermost shell, this is one element which has got three shells, and outermost element, actually, like you find many electrons revolving around it, children. So in order to understand this, you have to understand one more thing, that how many electrons will be present in each shell. As you know that electrons will be revolving around the shells. Now how many electrons will be revolving in each shell? that is given by a formula, children, which is 2n square, where n is the orbit, okay, the number of the orbit. For example, you see the first shell, what is the number of the shell, children? 1. So 2, 1, in place of n we write 1 and square, which is nothing but 2. So in the first shell, the maximum number of electrons that can be accommodated in the first shell is nothing but 2 electrons. The maximum number of electrons which can be present in the first shell is 2. So if it is the second orbit, in place of n we have to write 2 and continue with the formula. So you can see 2 into, in place of n we will write 2 because it is the second shell. 2 square. 2 into 2 it is 4, 2 into 4 which is 8. So what are the number of electrons, maximum number of electrons which can be present in the second shell? It is 8 electrons, children. So in that way we will know how many electrons will be present in each shell. So in the first shell it is only 2 electrons and maximum number of electrons will be 8. So don't understand that always 8 electrons will be present in the second shell. It starts from 1. One element will have 1 electron in the second shell, 2, 3, 4, it goes on increasing as the size increases. So you can see lithium, it has got 2 shells I said, its atomic number is 3, children, third. That means it contains 3 electrons which are distributed in this way. In the first shell it has got 2 electrons, okay, first shell how many electrons should be there? Out of the 3, 2 are present in the first shell and 1 is present in the outermost shell. So let us see the atomic structure of lithium now. Okay. So a lithium also has a nucleus. Okay. Then it has got how many shells I said? 2 shells. Let's draw 2 shells now. Can you see how many electrons are there all together? Because its atomic number is 3, that means 3 electrons are present in it. So out of the 3, 2 are present in the first shell. And how many are left now? 1 electron is left and that is present on the outermost shell. Did you understand? Now, can you tell me about beryllium then? I already told you, no, to find out, to get good information, about first 20 elements. What is the fourth element, children? It is beryllium. Fourth element means it has got 4 electrons and 4 protons. Always understand, remember that the number of electrons and the number of protons are same, children. If this has 4 electrons, it means that the number of protons also will be 4. Okay. Now we are talking about the valency and electrons here. So how many electrons will be present in beryllium, children? 4 electrons. Okay. It has got 4 electrons. Now let us see the structure of atomic structure of beryllium now. Out of the 4, how many should be present in the first shell? This also has 2 shells only. Okay. How many electrons will be present in the first shell, children? There will be 2 maximum. From where did we get this? From the formula 2n square, right? 2n square means the first shell contains 2 into 1 square, that is 2 electrons. So here 2 electrons will be present, a nucleus, 2 shells, and here 2 electrons will be present. And then out of the 4 electrons, 2 are present in the first shell. And how many will be present in the next shell? Yes, 2. Because overall it contains 4 electrons, right? They are distributed in this manner. Then hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron. What is boron's atomic number? 5. It has got 5 electrons. Outermost, this first shell always will contain 2 electrons only. The rest of the electrons will be present on the outermost shell. The boron will have 3 electrons now. Did you understand, children? So this is how the electrons are distributed. And you can see there is one outermost shell in everything. If you see hydrogen or helium, for example, it has got one positively charged nucleus and it has got only, the atomic number of helium is 2. So it has got only 2 electrons in the shell and there is no other shell. So it has got only 1 shell. When compared to lithium and beryllium, how many shells do these have? 2 shells. Whereas hydrogen and helium contain only 1 shell. So you can see this. Now this becomes the outermost shell of helium, right? This is the outermost shell. Now which one is the outermost shell here? This is K shell and this is K and this is L shell. So which one is the outermost shell in lithium now? The outermost shell in lithium is L shell. Did you understand? In case of hydrogen and helium, it is K shell only. Now why am I talking about all this thing is, this outermost shell is called as the valence shell, children. Valence shell or valence orbital. You can say that it is outermost shell is called as a valence shell. And the number of electrons that are present in this valence shell is directly related to the valency. You have to understand all these basic points. These are not given in your textbook. Please go through it, understand well. Then only you can go for, even in 10th class, this is very much required and very much useful. If you don't understand this, the 10th also, you will have to face a lot of difficulty. Now, what am I saying? The number of electrons which are present in the outermost shell is directly related to the valency of that atom, of that element. Okay. Now you see lithium is there. How many electrons are present in the outermost shell of lithium? Only one electron. That means it can give away this electron. Already I told you, in my last video, either it can, when different atoms combine, lithium can easily give away this electron. This can easily give away this electron, such that what is the need now? What is the need of combining, for the atoms to combine? It is to gain the stability. Stability, because atoms are very unstable, they can't be on their own, we learnt. So here, in order to get stability, you need to have, now stability in terms of atoms you have to understand. How will they get stability? When they have, please understand here, an atom will gain stability when it has maximum number, outermost shell containing maximum number of electrons. That means if an atom contains maximum number of electrons in the outermost shell, then such an atom is said to be a stable atom. Now here in this shell, can you see outermost shell is this? Now it has got one electron. How many should actually be? 8 electrons, right? We learned, 2n square. That means in the second shell, how many electrons should be? 2 square into 2. That is 8, no? So it should have 8 electrons in order to get the stability. But it won't be possible. It can't take 7 electrons in it. So what is the easy way to get stability? If it, gives away this electron. Now what happens? Here no electrons at all. Now K shell will become the outermost shell, and now this K shell, does it have maximum number of electrons here? Yes. First shell should contain 2 electrons, and this also has 2 electrons. So thus it gets stability. So an atom should have a completely filled outermost shell, and then only it gets stability. It gets stable. Got it? So now, what is the easy way I said here? It should give away its electron. So in order to give away, it should combine, it should find another atom which takes the electron. It cannot just give away like that. What it has to do? It has to find another atom which can take this electron, and in that manner there will be a bond formed, because one atom is giving electron, another one is taking electron, and in that way a bond will be formed and 2 atoms. Maybe how should be the nature of the other atom, children? It should also get 1 electron in order to become stable. Such atoms only combine. Did you understand what I am saying? Are you getting the point? One atom, in order to get, this particular atom, in order to get stability, if it loses 1 atom, it gets stability. Now imagine another atom which, if it gets one electron, then it gets stability. In such a manner, they both pair up, and there will be a bond formed, and that's the reason how atoms combine. Why atoms combine? Simple answer for this is in order to get stability. Now what is the stability in terms of atoms called? How will you define? Yes, that means it should contain its outermost orbit completely filled with electrons. So are there any atoms which have their complete outermost valence shell completely filled? Yes, there are some atoms. Have you gone through all those first 20 elements, children? You will find, I told you to tabulate first 20 elements along with the names and symbols and valencies, isn't it? Did you find any element which has got valency 0? Yes, we have seen in first 20 elements, we get some elements, 2 elements basically, which have got completely filled orbits, completely filled outermost valence shell. So find out which elements they are and just think why the valency is 0 over there. Okay. And what are such elements called? Please think about it. In my next video, so here only, let us consider, these are all metals, isn't it children? Lithium, beryllium, these are all metals now. Now, these metals, I told you in my, in 8th class, I think we learned about metals and non-metals. We learned that metals tend to lose electrons and become positively charged, right? So this is the reason now, did you understand children? These metals have the ability to lose electrons. How many electrons they lose? That much will be their valency. So they lose electrons and become positively charged ions, cations. So when in contrast, if you see the non-metals, let us see oxygen now. Its atomic number is 8. That means how many electrons will be present in oxygen? We'll see now. So oxygen, its atomic number is 8. That means it contains 8 electrons. Out of that, 2 electrons should be present in the first shell. And in the second shell, 8 minus 2, how many are left children? 6 are left. So 6 will be present in the second shell. How many electrons will be present in the second shell? 6. What is the number of electrons that can be maximum present in the second shell? 8. Okay. So now it has got only 6. Then how many it should need in order to get that stable configuration? So it can't lose all the 6 electrons, right? What is easier? To get 2 electrons. Now if it gets 2 electrons, it can become 8, right? Let us see. Positive, and we have got here 2 shells. The first shell contains 2 electrons. Yes. And the second shell contains 4 electrons. Right? I'm sorry, 6 electrons. Right children? Now this is 6. How many it should get? Outermost shell should be completely filled. Then only it gets stability. How many more electrons does it need? 2 more electrons. So it pairs with some other electron. Either it gains electrons or shares electrons, and it gets ultimately 2 electrons, and because of which it becomes stable. So here what is happening? Oxygen is a non-metal. So now what non-metals are doing? Are they giving away electrons? No. They are taking electrons and they are becoming stable. What about metals? Are they gaining electrons? No. They are giving away electrons and becoming stable. This is the main property that differentiates between metals and non-metals. Oxygen is a non-metal. It gains electrons. Lithium is a metal. It leaves away or gives away electrons. So this is how, atoms, this is why atoms combine in order to get stability. Okay children? So I'll stop over here. In my next video, I'll be explaining about some more terms like atomic mass and molecular mass, etc., which are there in your chapter, along with some laws also. It will take a few more days in order to complete this chapter. Till here, please go through the video, watch this video again and again. It might sound, first of all, little different and new to you because it's a new concept, but still, please watch it again and try and understand. If there are any doubts, please feel free to ask me.